Hi, my name is Dennis McLeod. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you for doing the surveys that you just completed. I know it seemed like a few, but now we're able to talk about some of the things related to those surveys that you just took. What we'll be discussing in this video are the 4 top barriers that Black people think get in the way of them using mental health services. The first reason is that people will judge me. Many people believe that they'll be judged if they go to therapy. So it makes sense, right? I mean, you have friends, you have family. Lots of us have family and friends, myself included, that might look down on you if you go to therapy. Well, the good news is that actually lots of people have found out, lots of researchers have found out that people, especially Black people, are starting to go to therapy more. And that's extremely important, and it really takes the weight off my chest as far as being able to talk to people my age and be able to talk to family members, because our perception of mental health is actually changing. It's kind of evolving, and that's really exciting to know, not just for someone like myself, a therapist, but also for every Black person who may be considering getting some mental health help. The second reason is that therapy is useless. It kind of ties into the first reason about therapy and being judged, but therapy being useless has been a myth for quite some time, a barrier for a long time, especially in the Black community. One of the reasons is because we have the Black church. I mean, again, I go to church, and while I'm there, I feel comfortable to talk to my pastor or talk to my other church members. I talk to my family, I'll talk to my friends, so there are lots of resources to try to get some of the therapy services in my own personal life. However, there are some things that a therapist can offer that those other people might not be licensed or qualified to do. For instance, listening. You know, sometimes people say, I don't want to pay a therapist to just be a friend. Well, the good thing is that someone like myself, I'm not going to just get paid to be your friend. My goal is not to be your friend. In fact, it's just to create a safe space that's judgment-free, where we can build a good rapport and allow you the opportunity to make the changes you'd like to see in your own life. That's something that may sound a bit tricky, and indeed it is. And that's why I go through the training that I'm going through, and even my therapist has gone through so much training to be able to help out in a way that oftentimes our family or church members or friends aren't able to. The third reason why therapy may not be looked at well, or why there may be a barrier to going to therapy, is that therapy sometimes costs too much. In fact, this was the biggest barrier out of all the ones that we learned in the earlier phase of data collection. What I found out was everyone said that therapy costs too much. And I'm going to level with you. The truth is, it does. For someone who already has a hard time even thinking about going to therapy, and then to find out that therapy costs $100, $200 per session, per week, that's a lot of money to try to get some mental health, especially when you feel like you're not even sure if it'll be helpful. However, the good news is that there are other resources that can help people who really need the help, who can't afford the $100 or $200 per hour that a private practitioner may offer. So some of those options include sliding scale. So some therapists, including my therapist, actually have lower rates for people who can't afford their services. So they may be able to just work with how much money you have and be able to help you out. The second thing is insurance. Nowadays, more people are insured. And sure enough, you're able to go into a therapist's office, and as long as they're able to see you and they have the time, they will be able to fit you into their schedule, and most importantly, offer you the same copay that you pay when you go to see a regular primary care physician or a doctor. And the last thing is that many states, actually most states, offer some type of free therapy. And when I found this out, my mind was blown. I could not believe that most people or most states have access to free therapy services. But I even worked at one of these sites. They call them community mental health centers. They're available in most states, and you just make a phone call and you'll be able to find those services. Finally, the fourth reason that people think therapy may be difficult to get to or may not even be interested in going to therapy is that a lot of people wrote down in our first phase that therapy is for white people and by white people. What that meant was that a lot of times the therapists are white, and sometimes, most of the times, the idea of going to therapy is something that white people do. Lots of times we have found that more white people do engage in therapy services than any other minority, and so that means that you're absolutely right. Therapy can be seen as something that has been just for white people. But the idea is that mental health is not just for white people. That's why I go to a therapist. That's why I think it's important for other black people to see a counselor in order to help them with some of their mental health concerns. It doesn't have to be depression, doesn't have to be general anxiety. It can be small things like shifting out of a relationship or trying to understand your family more. And the idea is that because we found that therapy is useful and that most people who go to therapy actually get benefits from it, that getting across all of the barriers that we've talked about today is actually important, extremely important, especially for black people. You know, when we finished shooting this video, I realized there was something extremely important that I completely missed and I thought was really important to share with you. So I want to take a moment and just say that there are lots of therapists, lots of counselors just like me. I mean, there's a whole world of master's level therapists. There's a whole world of growing African-American PhD level therapists. There are lots and lots of us. Hey, the APA, the American Psychological Association, has a complete division specifically for diversity, and there's an American Black Psychology Association, which ABPSI has been around for years, and their sole goal is to meet the needs of black people. So, you know, I'm not just talking about therapy as if, you know, it's just something that is important to people and should matter. I mean, I'm in counseling. I also am a counselor, and I really believe that we can get the help we need if we're open to it. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoy the video, and don't forget the code is 1279.